All right, so as promised, the answers to the U-try using the slope formula is, we have first a slope of -3, so a decreasing line. That's pretty steep. And B, you should have ended up with a slope of 0. 0 on the top, and you were dividing by 2. 0 divided by 2 is 0. Which means I know that this is a horizontal line or flat line. Okay. When I walk across it, it's completely flat. Lastly, you should have ended up with the numbers -8/0. We can't do that, so our slope is undefined. So right away this tells us this is a vertical line. One that's basically impossible to walk on. All right, let's continue on and take a look at parallel and perpendicular lines. So if two lines are parallel, it means they run next to each other, but they never touch. They'll never intersect. And that means they're going up at the same rate, or down at the same rate if they head down. So parallel lines have the same slope. If you take a look at these two lines, as we count from this point to this point, we go up 2, rise 2, run over 3. So the first line has a slope of 2/3. If we look at the second line, and we count from the 2 points marked on the graph, we also head up 2 and over 3 to get to our next point. So once again, we have a slope of 2/3, same slope. We also have lines that are perpendicular. Perpendicular means they intersect at a 90-degree angle. Okay. So this angle right here is 90 degrees. And they also have a very special relationship between their slopes. Their slopes are negative reciprocals. Let's see what that means. On these two lines, if I count starting at the left point and go down to this point, I go down 1, 2, 3. So I would write that as -3 for my rise, and over 1, 2. So it looks like this line has a slope of -3/2. If I look at line N here, and I start from my lower point and I head up to my upper point, I'm going to count up 1, 2, so that's +2, and over 1, 2, 3 to get to my point. So that line has a slope of 2/3. So the relationship here, 2/3 and -3/2, if I'm to multiply those two slopes together, I'll end up with -6/6, which is -1. Okay. So negative reciprocals, when you multiply them, their product is going to be -1. Negative means that they have the opposite sign. This slope is negative, and this slope was positive. And they're reciprocals. You can think of that as flipping, refliprical, I like to say sometimes. So they're flipped fractions. So here the 2 is on top, the 3 is on the bottom. Here the 3 is on top and the 2 is on the bottom. So negative reciprocals. All right, so we're going to use that knowledge to see a few practice problems. Okay, the first problem asks us to determine whether the line through -1, 2 and 3, 5 is parallel to the line through 4, 7, and 8, 10. Well, what tells us if a line is parallel? If they have the same slope. So the first thing I want to do is calculate these two line slopes. We know how to do that using the slope formula. So the first line, I'll call this slope 1. We're going to use these first 2 points. So y2 minus y1. So we can label these real quick. This is x1, y1, and x2, y2. So that's 5 minus 2 on the top and 3 minus negative 1 on the bottom. So I end up with a 3 on the top, and my taking away a negative turns into a positive, and a 4 on the bottom. All right, I'm going to use a different color for the second 2 points so we can see the difference in the slope. So we'll call the first point 4, 7, x1, y1, and the second point x2, y2. So when I calculate my second slope, call it m2, I end up with 10 minus 7, y2 minus y1, and 8 minus 4. 10 minus 7 is 3, 8 minus 4 is 4. So it looks like, yes, they do indeed have the same slope of 3/4. So these lines are parallel. So my answer would be yes, the lines are parallel. The next example problem, this time it gives us 2 equations. Are the lines with these equations perpendicular? So we're looking for, are their slopes negative reciprocals? So the easiest way to look at slope in a equation is to first put it in slope-intercept form. So let's take this first equation here, 3x plus 5y equals 6, and let's solve for y so that we're in the form y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to move that 3x to the other side. And remember, we write the x term first, so negative 3x and a positive 6 plus 6 on the right. And now I'm going to divide by 5 to everything in the equation. So now I have y equals negative 3/5 x plus 6/5. Okay. So right away, I can tell the slope of this first line is the number in front of x, or negative 3/5. So let's go ahead and put the second line into slope-intercept form. So the first thing I do is move the x over. Write the x term first, so negative 5x and a positive 2. Divide by negative 3 to everything. So y is negative 5 divided by negative 3. The negatives undo each other in this first division. And I get 5/3 x plus 2 over negative 3. So this is negative 2/3. The negative does not undo itself over here because the 2 is positive. Right, and if you look here, our slope is 5/3. So first, are they reciprocals? Are they a flipped fraction? Yes, 5's on the bottom here, top there, 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom. So they are flipped, they're reciprocals. And are they negatives of each other? This one's negative, this one's positive. Yes. So our solution here is yes, the lines are perpendicular. There's a U try. Next, in the notes. It gives you two equations. Go ahead and put them in slope-intercept form. And then determine whether they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither. I'll give you the answer at the start of the next video.